lost all control. Gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She comes me with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal Night Terrors. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and I'm here to entertain you. If I'm doing my job, you're going to leave here entertained, by God. I don't know. At least that's always my plan as I come into this, but welcome, everybody. Hope you're having a great day. Hope your world makes sense. I know a lot of things don't make sense right now, but, this is all about kind of releasing the stress and just unwinding, having some discussion about some really amazing paranormal fun-filled activities. Not always fun as it works out, but it's our show. This is what we do, so I'm glad you guys are here with us. Hello to all of you guys who are piling into the chat room already. Great to see you. I'm going for the quicker beginnings because I don't want to lose people in that intro. I've been playing it longer. I said this last night as well, but I've been playing it longer because generally it takes a while for people to get into the room. It's like the notifications come out and people come as responsively as they can, and that's wonderful. But I always try to extend that intro a little bit because I figure, well, maybe it'll give them more time to get in here before I start going at it. But I just decided, you know what? And looking at the analytics, it looks like some people are jumping off because the intros are too long. So I'm just trying this out, doing a little shorter version of that, and hopefully we're keeping more people with us because that's always really important, for anybody's show. You want people participating and being involved. So, but yeah, we're at it. It's our Tuesday night show, and it looks like we're in good shape. Beautiful day here today. I was loving it. I was outside having a good time. This is the Night Terrors again, as I stated before. And if you're new to the show, if this is your first time into our YouTube, just checking it out, the Night Terrors episodes are about an hour, and generally we cover ghost stories for the most part, ghostly encounters, that kind of thing. So if you love some ghosts, you're going to love this show. And if you don't love this show, there must be something wrong with you. I'm just kidding, but during the duration of the show, the call-in board will be open. 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500 is how you get through to me right here at my desk, waiting for all the participation and love that comes with that. But you can also email the show if you've got something you want to share. If you would like to, you got some encounters and you want to be a guest on our podcast, please reach out to me at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. And so that's another way to get in touch with us. Those are both your passports to the portal. So as well as just kicking back and listening and watching and enjoying yourself. So I hope you got the lights turned down, got the blankets pulled tight, something to drink, and the candles burning lazily alongside of you. And because, well, it's time for bed. I was like, which button did I push again? I was just screwing around with the levels and I kind of forgot my place. So welcome back. And we are underway here on the Paranormal Portal Night Terrors. So I've got to get some stories opened up for you here for your listening pleasure. That's weird. Oh, that's scary. This first story that I'm going to get into just sounds horrible. Just horrible every once in a while. And just from the title, I don't know, maybe it's going to be, some kind of flaky thing, but usually the titles are pretty accurate. And if this title is accurate, this is going to be really, really creepy. So the first story tonight is having to do with a something trying to take someone's baby is what it says in the title. And I read that. I was like, whoa. So that comes out of Arizona, and let's get into it and see what the hell's going on. It's not a real long story, so you'd think if something was taking the baby, there'd be more to it. But let's see what's going on. It says, it happened just recently, Monday night, December 8th. And again, this is 2008, everybody, so this is an old story. We were in the process of moving, and I was so tired from packing that I laid down with my infant daughter at around 10 p.m. My daughter's 4 months old, and she's a preemie, so she doesn't crawl yet. Around 3 in the morning, I was awakened by the sound of small feet running to my bedroom door. I thought it was my other daughter, who's 2, so I get up a little upset, and I open my bedroom door, and nothing. There's no one there, so I go back to my girl's room. I have 6 kids total, and there is my 2-year-old asleep between her sisters. So I go back to my room, convinced I must have been hearing things, and my daughter started to fuss, so I gave her a pacifier and got back into bed and fell asleep. Let me assure you that although she was asleep with me, I had her in the middle of my queen-size bed, a stack of pillows on one side and me on the other, and at 3:30 I was awoken by her crying. It was a loud, sharp cry babies give when they are either frightened or they're in pain. And the only thing was, it was muffled. I thought that maybe the covers of the pillows were on her, so I moved the blanket. Nothing. I moved the pillows. Nothing. And I get this really uneasy feeling. And I start moving boxes in my room, and I can hear her, but she's muffled. I happen to catch a glimpse of her foot under the bed, so I pulled her out. How did she get there? She was under the bed towards the headboard in the middle. And when I picked her up, she had this really weird smell. It smelled oily. I was very scared. I checked on my other kids, and they were still asleep. And I let my dog Sugar in, and she ran straight for my room and was growling, trying to get under the bed. My husband works nights, and when he came home in the morning, I was still awake. Naturally, I don't think he believed me, but when I got home from work later in the day, he said, I moved the bed to get the frame to get the frame to the new house, and look, I found the baby's pacifier. It was in the same spot you said you found her on, and the pacifier was all oily. There was this perfectly round spot on the wall that was oily and smelled really foul, and I don't know what it is or what happened. And I've slept in the living room since that night. I still get this feeling that something is watching, and I don't leave the baby by herself ever, and I have caught the dog growling at something unknown in my room. Yeah, you got to get someone over there to deal with that like yesterday. And again, the story's old, but my God, what if that happens? I mean, what if that really does happen? Of course, there's lore built around that for, hundreds or thousands of years. The old baby snatcher things that are not of this world. Could there be truth to it? Well, I don't know. The one thing I've learned doing the paranormal is that everything is possible. There's no such thing as impossible. I don't know. That is absolutely terrifying, though. Horrible. Horrible thing. All right, so the next one's coming from Florida, and this has to do with sleep paralysis, old hags, night attacks. There's a lot of these out there. I don't read all of them that I come across just because, they're pretty much the same thing, every one of them. And having been an experiencer of sleep paralysis, it's a horrible thing. But, most stories are just carbon copies of the other ones. So I find them less interesting, even though it was something I dealt with personally. But I'll read this one. And it's been a few weeks since I've had my last paranormal experience. But this last Sunday and Monday night, I've had something whisper to me while I was in the state between awake and asleep. Sunday night was like any other school night. I went to bed around 10 p.m. and I usually put my cat Salem outside for the night because he'll sit in the hallway and meow for no reason at all. I try to let him out and he doesn't want to. I try to give him food and he doesn't want it. I ask him to come in my room and he refuses. He just sits and meows in the darkness. He's a strange cat. He does this a lot. Anyway, he's been climbing up to the window and scratching and meowing at 3 to 5 a.m. for me to let him back inside. And I used to get up and let him in, but I can never get back to bed afterwards, so I decided he could just wait a few more hours until I got up. Well, he did this Sunday night, like usual. I was half asleep and half awake, and I could hear him scratching and meowing for me to let him in. Well, I ignored it, and I stayed in the state for about 2 minutes. While I was in the state, I heard someone clearly say into my ear, "I see you in there. I know you're awake." Well, this didn't hit me because I was half asleep still, so it really didn't frighten me. And when I woke in the morning, I remembered it like it had just happened. It was so clear, which was unusual. Like any other person just leaned over and just said it to me, only there was nobody there. Well, I forgot about it for the rest of the day, and Monday night came, and it was just like any other school night as well. Bed at 10 p.m., asleep by 10:20, something. I had completely forgotten about the night before, and I usually wake up in the middle of the night and fall back to sleep anyways. Between one or four times, it just depends. And I woke up that night, and it was about 3 a.m. ish, and I fell back into that state of being awake and asleep. And this time, Salem wasn't scratching. I just woke up and drifted back off, and as I was drifting off, something whispered either "Hey" or "Haley," my name, into my ear again. Again, it didn't faze me. I just remembered it in the morning. I don't feel afraid of these voices at all, probably because I was half asleep. I just can't figure it out if it was my cat trying to get me to let him in, or if it was just a spirit letting me know that they knew I was half awake, or if I'm just insane. That's interesting. What if it is the cat? What if those are the thoughts of the cat looking in the window like, "Yeah, I know you're awake. You're not fooling me. Let me in." Also, a few weeks ago, I was going to a spare room in the house to see my bunny, and I heard someone say, "Run," in my ear. Well, this didn't scare me, but I thought my sister said it, but she said she didn't say anything at all. And she was in my room, which was down the hall, and it sounded like it was right in my ear. Now, I usually hear someone calling my name, and so does my sister, but it never says much more than that. This was a first for it to say something like a whole sentence. Does anyone else experience this? And if so, what should I do? I've also been waking up sore lately, just random nights, and I know that I don't sleepwalk. There isn't anything for me to hit my face or body parts on while I'm sleeping either. There's just the wall, but I definitely have woken up as if I hit a wall. I woke up about a week ago and my forehead was sore. Not my skull, just the skin. The next day I went to my face to around my nose, and I've also woken up with sore spots that turned into bruises later in the day. I don't work out or anything. Trust me, I've tried to sort this out to a reasonable explanation, but nothing I do could have given me bruises. It's really odd. I know, trust me. Okay, we'll trust you. Sometimes I'll even have a dream where I feel the pain and I'm being harmed in the dream. And I heard a really soft voice. Harmed in the dream, and I'll wake up to being sore in the area where I was hurt in the dream. I was discussing this with my friend at school the other day, and she told me that over the summer she woke up and she had bruised or a busted lip and bruises on her arms. She doesn't sleepwalk either because I've stayed with her many times and I'm a light sleeper. Well, thanks for reading and feel free to give me some advice. Well, I don't know. That's strange. I don't know. The pain, the bruises stuff, that's creepy. It's obviously sounds like somebody's attacking this person in the night, but I don't know. It's hard to know. Very hard to know. But this next one is coming from Ohio, which is where pretty much everything weird in the universe happens, is in Ohio. At least they seem to have a version of it there. If it happens somewhere else, it's already happened in Ohio. I don't know what's up with that state, but man, things are always popping off there. They got their own special kind of Bigfoot. They've got all kinds of strangeness going on in Ohio. All right, but this one is having to do with apparitions, voices, and touches. It says, when I was first married, I couldn't wait to move into our first house. It was a 2-story with 3 bedrooms upstairs and an enclosed side porch. It's not close to the highway, and it took a while to get used to all the traffic, but in time, that was the least of my worries. The first time I felt like I was being watched happened late at night as I lay on the couch reading a book, waiting for my husband to come home from work. And we didn't have any kids then, so the house was really quiet. The living room had an open stairway, which I was facing. It was around 2 a.m. when I sensed a chill and scanned the room, and I felt eyes looking at me. No one was there. I even got up and walked around the downstairs, but no one. I lay back down and started to read again. Once again, I felt this uncomfortable feeling, but just thought it was me feeling weird being in a strange house. I knew the house had been there for many years and that many people had actually lived there before me, but what I didn't know was that a woman had actually died in the house. Well, this continued for quite some time, and I even asked my husband if he ever noticed anything or heard something strange, but he said no, he didn't believe in any of that stuff anyway. Well, I knew it couldn't be my imagination, and then one day, while in the basement washing clothes, I felt the hair on the back of my neck stand up and felt a warmth, as if someone was almost touching me. But when I whirled around, nothing was there. I looked all over the basement, and there were 2 other rooms down there. Nothing, and I felt foolish, but as these occurrences increased, I couldn't help wondering who or what was doing this to me. One day I was running the sweeper on the stairs leading to the bedrooms, and it felt like a body so close to my back that I could feel the heat off of it. Annoyed, I looked over my shoulder, ready to scream, thinking my husband had sneaked up into the house and wanted to scare me. But nothing was there. I shut off the sweeper and took it up to the landing, and what was going on? I couldn't even clean my house in peace. I never really saw anything, but after a while I grew weary of it. And I asked around but people who lived in the house before me, but no one seemed to think their spirits would try to bother me or anyone else for that matter. I tried to ignore whatever it was, but that didn't really work. Then when I learned I was pregnant with my daughter, things really started to get intense. There were sounds and footsteps, and I got a feeling of excitement in the air. And did this spirit like the thought of a baby in the house? Well, my next story will pick up where this one leaves off. What is this one? Oh, okay. Well, there's 2 other stories by this same person, so in the spirit of continuity, I guess we could just read through those. Because, it's already a series, so we might as well finish it. Because I really hate when we read parts of these and then come back, 4 or 5 or 6 days later and be like, hey, well, this is a follow-up from my other story, and I can't remember what the hell the other story was. So let's get to it right now and just keep it all together. This is Ohio again, and it says, finding out I was pregnant after suffering 2 miscarriages was actually a dream come true. I know our house reeled with the joy of it all, but as the intensity of the spirit presence progressed, so did my fear. Not so much for myself or my husband, but what about the baby? Since the bookmobile stopped right across the street from my house, I decided to investigate the strange things going on in it. I read everything I could get my hands on, and I learned a lot in the process. From the books I read, I determined that it was a friendly spirit, however somewhat aggravated at times, and what need or purpose it possessed escaped me. In a way, I felt sorry for it. In the rush to get ready for the birth, my mind chose to overlook some of the sounds, feelings, and sense of excitement, but I knew it was there all the same. After our little girl was born, After our little girl was born, following an emergency C-section, I noticed a feeling of peace, even in the hospital. And when we got home, things quieted down for a while, and I no longer sensed anything. It felt good to finally get some peace. But after a while, it started up all over again, and I'd almost forgotten about it. One day, when Hope was going on 2 years old, she asked, Who's coming? And I heard the side door open and the footsteps on the porch. And I said, I don't know, let's look. But no one was there. After checking with the neighbors and calling my parents, no one had stopped by. Hope couldn't understand where they went, and neither could I. Or did I? I started to feel the fear welling up in me again. Oh no, please don't start again. But things only got worse. One day, I noticed Hope sitting on the floor in the doorway, leading into our other living room, looking in from the kitchen, and I couldn't believe my eyes. Her beautiful face was looking up, and she was smiling and shaking her head as if someone was asking her questions. I hadn't heard anyone come in, so who was she talking to? It went on for what seemed like several minutes, and when I asked, Hope, what are you doing? She lost her inviting smile, and whatever was going on ended abruptly. Please come sit on Mommy's lap, I said, and with her innocent brown eyes looking at me, I asked the dreaded question, who are you talking to? A woman, she answered. Did someone come in and I didn't hear them? No. Well, what did she look like? Well, the answer floored me. She wore a long black dress with lots of buttons, she replied. She didn't act scared or anything, and I tried to find out more about this mysterious lady in black. My daughter was pretty smart for her age. Today she is a PhD, so I took what she said to heart. She said she wore her hair up and was nice. And let me tell you, when my husband came home from work, I told him what happened, and he confessed to hearing things too. Our son was born about a year later, and I had had enough by then. But what cinched the deal for me was when my husband asked me when I returned from the grocery store, why didn't you come in the house? I heard the side door open and you walk across the porch. Did you forget something? I just looked at him and said, it wasn't me. We started looking for another place to live, and the rest of my story will follow soon. And guess what? It's right here, and we'll follow it right now. Because that's how we roll in the portal. Not usually, but they made clear reference to other stories, so we're going to keep reading them until we run out of this series. In my other two stories, I told you what it was like to feel something watching me, and we moved into our first home and how I felt a warmth. Yes, I know that doesn't make sense, but try holding one hand palm down over the top of your other hand. Feel the warmth after a few seconds. That's what I mean by warmth. Behind me, while I cooked, washed clothes, or swept the carpet on the stairs leading to the upstairs bedrooms. It didn't make much sense to me either. Ghosts and cold go hand in hand, or at least I thought so, but the fact was it scared me to think something was that close to me and I couldn't see it. But watching my daughter talking to someone who I couldn't see was the final straw. We started to look for another place to live soon after that. We bought the farm just out of town, and I prayed it wouldn't follow us. And my aunt and her family had that happen to them, but luckily I've never noticed anything out here, and it's been 25 years since we moved. However, the poor man who bought the house uptown wasn't as lucky. Red was a close family friend of my parents who lived in Amish country. His wife had died and his brother lived just up the road from the house we were selling, and Paul was happy to have his brother close by again. I can best describe Red as a total non-believer of ghosts and that sort of nonsense. His words exactly. But yet after he moved in and got settled, I took my children and went to visit Red, and he was a hospitable fellow with a loud booming voice who spoke his mind, and crap was crap, not apple butter type. So when I finally got the nerve to ask if he noticed anything strange about the house, he grew silent and the color drained from his face. After a few moments, he said, "Yeah, I do, and I don't know what to make of it." He then told me about the feeling he wasn't alone and often thought his brother had dropped by without calling, but after checking, he never saw anyone. The worst experience for him happened when he was in the basement fixing the fire in the potbelly stove, and he heard the back door open and footsteps walking across the kitchen. The door to The door to the basement is in the corner of the room, and he left the door open and called up, "Just a minute, Paul, I'll be right up." He hurriedly finished and rushed up the steps, anxious to see what his brother wanted. When he walked up to the kitchen, no one was there. He looked around, calling his brother's name, no answer. And then he walked out on the side porch, no one was there. Red was getting mad by this time. Was someone playing a joke or what? But when he walked outside expecting to see his brother's car, no one was there. Damn it, he must have left already, he thought. He went back into the house and called his brother. "Why the hell didn't you wait for me to come up from the basement? I hollered at you," he roared at Paul. "What are you talking about?" Paul asked. "I wasn't at your house today. Olive and I went to Cadiz." I don't know what Cadiz is, C-A-D-I-Z. Red said he knew his brother wasn't lying because he wanted to know if he was feeling all right, and he was coming right down to check on him. When he got to Red's, he wanted to know what was going on, and Red told him everything about hearing the door open and the footsteps in the kitchen, and maybe we better check with the neighbors and see if they saw anyone here, Paul suggested. But to no avail. No one saw a thing. After Paul went home, Red got his pistol out and kept it close to him while in the house, and even put it under his pillow at night just in case. But if it was what I think it was, a ghost, that wouldn't do much good now, would it? You have to understand that this man wasn't scared of anything before he moved into the house. But after living there for a while, and he said he told it to get the hell out and leave him alone. Things seemed to settle down some after that, but when Red died in the bathroom a few years later, it really bothered me. Now, I'm not saying something had anything to do with it, but they say he died of natural causes, but I'm sure he told it where to go many times after that, and maybe it got tired of it. I'll never know. Today, I wonder about the family living there now. I'd like to talk to them, but fear that they will think I'm making things up, and their son and his wife just had a new baby, and they live in the little house next door. Wonder if it was as happy about that little girl as when my daughter was born. Huh. Craziness. Lots of craziness. But good stories. I like that we found all of them in series. I think that makes perfect sense. I think it does. You know, and there's no one reason why these things may happen. We just don't know. We don't know why. They just do. And I think that's fine. By the way, I made a connection today. One that I'm really excited to bring to the show, and it's energetic healer is going to come on the show, and she also works with cleansings and a lot of health related energy stuff. So she's going to be coming on the show. I believe we're going to have her on a week from tonight. Actually, we're going to extend the show a little bit, and on Tuesday night, so a week from tonight, we're going to go 2 hours and have her on. Her name is Jenna, and she's a very wonderful person. I'm just really excited to have her on here because we talk about cleansing a lot. We talk about dealing with negative energies a lot. And, I certainly have my own ideas and practices about it, but, I don't do it professionally. However, she has been involved in doing cleansings in a more professional manner. So, and is very well trained in the energies and such. So I'm really excited to have her here, and she's going to be in the studio with me too. So that'll be really cool. But we're going to make that connection next Tuesday. So as it sits, next Tuesday is going to be a 2-hour show rather than 1 hour. So, and the interesting thing is Wednesday we'll have a 2-hour show, and then Thursday, maybe not Thursday. Not this coming Thursday anyway. Or not a week from Thursday. No, it's going to be Thursday the 9th. Right now we have scheduled the 2-hour show with the Irish Bigfoot Research Organization. They're going to come on the show and talk about their new work that they've been doing with I guess that didn't stay lit with their search for the Woodwoes, Bigfoot in Ireland, which is really cool. Ooh, it's being a stubborn light tonight. That should do it. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. So, lots of cool things coming up, ladies and gentlemen. Always here on the portal. And then I think Deb's going to be on. Deb's going to be on the 10th to do psychic readings to callers of the show. So keep that in mind as well. I'm kind of taking a mid-show break here because I forgot to mention all these things on the front end. But I just would like to say as well, I was on Lighting the Void with Joe Rupi last night from 9 till midnight Pacific time. Had a great time. Joe is a fantastic guy. And he and I really, really were in sync, I think, in a lot of our ideas and thoughts. And it was really a fantastic opportunity to have a talk with him and to, pick his brain. He picked my brain. It was really fun. Had a great discussion. So if you want to check that out, go check out Lighting the Void on thefringe.fm. That's their main page, but it was a great time, a great fun. I really, really thoroughly enjoyed it, and if you want to check it out, that'd be really cool. Definitely support the Fringe as well. All right, so where the hell are we? Oh yeah, I remember. We got more stories. It says Kathy says B invited me, but not yet. Oh, okay. All right. I don't know what that's. Are you talking about the Fringe, Kathy? I'm not sure what you're talking about for sure. B invited you, but not yet at Paranormal Portal. I'm not sure what that means, but okay. All right. All right, let's continue here. Yes. Oh, okay. To the Fringe. Okay. Well, yeah, definitely check it out. It's a good show. And Joe puts a lot of heart into it, and he's a really cool guy. I mean, he's really down to earth. He's got a real level-headed perspective of all this paranormal stuff. And our very own Sean Gonzalez has been over there on his show a couple of times, as well as Barbara Charlton. Both of them are involved very much when I get message from people having issues due to paranormal things happening. Sean has always been incredibly responsive, and he's able to remotely help people and has done a marvelous job. And Barb deals with people suffering from PTSD after having paranormal events happen, and it's a very real thing. You've got to understand, if you haven't had a paranormal experience of your very own, it can be absolutely horribly traumatic, and it can be every bit as traumatic as any other life event, and sometimes more, because you're dealing with something that we don't understand at all. We have no consciousness of, we might have theories and ideas, but we don't know what these things are. And we don't know why they come in and just raise hell sometimes. And it can be absolutely terrifying, and such feelings of hopelessness and panic and living in that fear. That was my stomach. Sorry about that. But it's important to know that there's these resources out there. And if you're dealing with a haunting, ladies and gentlemen, or something really freaking you out, let me know. Sean is absolutely thrilled to get in touch with people and help them out. And if you've already been through something for a long time and you're just having issues adjusting, let me know, because Barb will be happy to help you. And both these people do this pro bono. They're not charging anything. Sean, of course, accepts donations, but he's not charging to help people. He's doing it out of the goodness of his heart. And Barb is doing the same thing. So just really incredible people. So keep that in mind. If you're dealing with something really dark and horrible, there is help. I'm very proud that both of these people, and Deb as well, and Dee has been involved in some of the people needing help, and so many people have been willing to step up and be there as a resource to help people, and I just take great pride in that, because paranormal events can leave you feeling absolutely isolated and alone, and it's not something most people want to talk about. So, when your whole paradigm is shifted upside down, and you feel like you're alone and you can't talk to anybody, I mean, that's a tough place to be. So it's really cool that we have those people that are willing to donate their time and energy to help people. So let me know. You can email me at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com, and I will certainly be happy to put you in touch with those people. So anyway, kind of a long mid-show break here, but I just want to make sure to get those things on the air, because it was a great time last night, and I'm just happy that we can help other people as well. It's not just about ghost stories and experiences. It's also about helping if we can. And nothing's 100%, but, I haven't heard of Sean not able to help somebody ever yet. At least I haven't heard that. I'm not saying it's not possible, but he's been, pretty solid, pretty incredibly solid. So let's get to the next one. This is California, ladies and gentlemen. More sleep paralysis. Sorry, I'm just so tired of sleep paralysis stories, and there seems to be a gajillion of them out there. And I don't know, maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe that's a demonstration of how sideways some of this stuff is going out there. If so many people are just really struggling with this sleep paralysis thing, is there some kind of metaphysical or spiritual thing going on that's bothering people in their sleep state? I don't know. Maybe. I just get kind of bored of them myself. But I'll read it since it's up here on the screen. It says, "Greetings, everyone. I feel like I know most of you." Okay, I'm done with this one already. Let's get on to the next one. And this one, sorry, it's just, I didn't like that beginning. It's like, oh, sorry. I'm a little punchy today. I've just been running like crazy, and I need to be entertained myself. So let's go to Indiana. And this one has to do with Ouija board seances. Ooh. These are always pretty intense. And this one is, a friend asked me for a few recounts of Ouija board experiences, and that got me thinking on perspective. To me, this was a good Ouija board experience. Oh, that's cool. That's good. I was working with my mentor to find someone, and she had a firm knowledge of the board and has been working with one for over 20 years at the time. She's not a psychic or a medium, just someone who is considered a healer. She'd been approached by a man who claimed that his daughter had been abducted, and he went to the police, but as he did not witness anyone taking her at the time, between her disappearance and the time of the report was not long enough to start a search. Their hands were tied for helping, and they did promise to put her description through, and when the 48 hours was up, the father was to go back and try to fill out another report if she didn't return home. Well, he was scared, frustrated, rude, and devastated about his little girl, who was 19 years old. The session seemed to point to a young man who picked her up from her dorm room and took her someplace. It was clear that she went willingly, and even with a bit of anticipation, she was excited. It sounded like a date. My mentor was so good that she could get a whole story out just by patiently asking, rewording, and then re-asking the same questions until whoever she was talking to understood exactly what she needed. She has a no-nonsense kind of personality, and it was really showed through in the board. She made it clear that this was not a game and we needed answers. Somewhere near the end of the communication, we started smelling lilacs, the scent of spirits, and hearing soft strains of music. I do not recall the type of music, but when I was younger, we called this elevator music, and I have no clue what they call it now. This particular time, I started to feel nauseous, and I really lightheaded, and I tried working out the kinks in my neck as she continued and rubbed my shoulder up against my own cheek. I started acting out of character and almost as if I was a flamboyantly flirtatious young coy dimple-cheeked kid. When I smiled, it was not in the manner in which I normally did. It was as if I was trying to make the dimples more pronounced and the smile was bigger. With our hands still on the planchette, my mentor started asking me questions. Where was I? What was going on? Who was I with? Well, I answered them. Good thing, too. The young lady had been picked up for a date. She was to go to one of her local college hangouts, have dinner, and a few drinks. Head on out to a movie and then back home to her dorm. But that's not what happened. When they were at the hangout, her new friend slipped a pill in her drink, and she was drinking a non-alcoholic beverage, but it had carbonation in it, so she never noticed. After drinking it, there seemed to be no ill effect, so when she slipped into the bathroom to freshen up, he slipped in another one in the second drink. She was walking a bit differently when she returned to the table, but apparently her new friend thought it was because she had to weave around the people, tables, and the bar. Either that or he simply didn't care and he had slipped her a second pill. When they left the hangout and got into her car, she was drunk, and he laughed with his buddies that he better get her home before her mama found out. Oh. They all wished them a safe night, and she leaned over in the driver's seat and passed out. She made it back to her dorm room the next night, and she was bruised, battered, broken, and needing medical assistance, but would not go as she blamed herself. She had accepted this date from the most handsome guy on the basketball team, and she had chased him. She had picked out what they would do that night, etc., etc. Really sad. Oh, the good part? Right. When my father had heard all the answers I was given to my mentor's questions, I gave specifics, the name of the hangout, the boy's name, his car, all through her questioning. He went on a manhunt and found the boy. His car was destroyed. He was kicked off the team, expelled from college, and spent 15 years in prison for aggravated date rape. She did not have to say a word. The boy was so scared of the father that when the father went to the police and they knocked on the boy's door, the boy saw the dad there. He immediately started telling the police what the father had done to him. Oh, yeah, so he beat up the sports car. I thought that was what ball bats were for. He was so agitated that the dad did this, he never thought to ask him who he was. When the argument ensued about him smashing up the car, it all came out, and essentially the boy confessed, though he didn't mean to. I wasn't there for the confrontation. I was only in that little room with my mentor, and I felt guilty for a long time that we couldn't stop this, and the drugging of this young lady, but we were only brought in after the fact. And it took me forever, and it seemed to come to terms with that. Well, I've never heard of a situation like that before. That's very interesting. So this person that was involved in the session would apparently be a latent medium. The Ouija board can't introduce something that you're not. I mean, it's not like playing with a Ouija board suddenly allowed you to channel a spirit. I think anybody is capable of it, don't get me wrong, but, for her to completely channel that spirit through, she had to have that ability initially. There's no way. Or he, I don't know, he or she, whatever. But I don't believe that using the Ouija board will suddenly make you channel spirits if you're not already capable of it or, have that ability. So that's very interesting. That's a new one to me, for sure. And then we got another one here from North Carolina, and this is family and friends visits is what it's dealing with. I grew up with my dad and my grandparents, so my grandmother and grandfather were always more like parents to me than grandparents. I was very close to both of them, and my grandfather passed away when I was 21, and it was really tough experience for me. I was living with my grandparents at the time, so it really altered my everyday life. A little over a year later, I'd moved out and was living in an apartment with a roommate. She spent many weekends out of town because her boyfriend lived about an hour away. Whenever she was gone, I always took care of her dog and cat, and the dog would always sleep under the bed, and the cat would usually come jump up on the bed, sometimes in the middle of the night, as long as I left the door cracked open for him. This particular night in question, my roommate was out of town, and the dog was already under my bed. Since the cat wasn't in my room yet, I made sure to leave the door cracked open for him to come in. I went to sleep and had a dream that I was standing in the living room of my grandfather's house, and I could hear something in the kitchen that sounded like pouring water, but somehow sounded really pure and crisp. I walked into the kitchen and saw my grandfather standing at the counter. He was pouring water from the silver jug into a vase that had flowers in it. They looked like they may have been blue hyacinth, and they looked purple. I ran to him and started crying as he hugged me, and I said, "I'm so sorry. I thought you were gone." He said to me, "I know. I still am gone. I just came to leave these flowers for your grandmother." I stopped crying and then just looked at him and said, "How is it? Is it wonderful?" I meant heaven, and I was asking him how heaven was. He told me that it was more beautiful there than I could imagine, and then he left. When I woke up, I realized that the dog was under the bed and the cat was sleeping beside me, but my door was closed. When my roommate came home, I told her about it, and she said, "Taylor doesn't close doors. He doesn't know that trick. He opens them, but he never closes them." And she and I were convinced that my grandfather really had visited me in my sleep and talked to me in my dream. I made a mixed reaction about it when I told people at work about it. I was very happy about it, and I felt like it was a blessing that I got to talk to my grandfather again. I really enjoyed talking to him, and I really would like to again. Does anyone have any suggestions how I can make myself more open for him to visit me again? Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. I mean, it's having had dream experiences with like my father and my grandmother, specifically, and my aunt as well. She was a cousin, but she was more like an aunt or second mother to me. But having experiences with all of them and feeling how incredibly real they are, I don't know. I'd love to know how to do it at will too. It'd be really great to be able to visit with these loved ones and ask those questions or whatever. But I had two really pronounced dreams with my dad, and they were both so incredibly real that there's no way it was a dream. There's no way. Just the healing that went on in those dreams and the moments of just understanding and connection. It was just more than a dream. It really was. And even if you think out there, you're thinking, "Oh, that's of course you want to believe that." Of course I do. Of course I do. Having lost my dad when I was so far away was really tough, and you're just kind of stuck with that feeling, and so to have had the time to connect with him or the opportunity to connect with him again was just really incredible. It was just amazing. Now we do have a call, so let's get to this call, and this is coming from New York. Let's see who's on the horn. This is area code 845. You're on the air.
My man Brent, what's going on? It's Carlton from the Pharmacy Seeds Network. How are you tonight?
Good, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I just wanted to say I heard your show last night, and it was really cool to hear your stories. And the people who haven't heard it, they should go check it out. I assume that's available post-live session. I was listening to that while I was working, and really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed your interview. And I didn't catch the name of the show again, or I don't remember the name of the show you were on, but the interview was also awesome. So that was really cool to hear.
Ah, brother, it was a great time. The show's called Lighting the Void and Joe Rupi is the host, and a real nice guy. I really enjoyed it too.
Yeah, that was excellent. So I just wanted to, make a point to make people go back and take a look at it because it was well worth hearing.
Oh, thanks, brother. I really appreciate that. It was a good time, and we're gonna get Joe on the show here too. I'm gonna reverse the roles here, and I'm gonna interview him next. So we'll get him on, and we can all talk to him.
Oh, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. And shout out to Duke from World Bigfoot Radio for dropping the link for me because I didn't catch a link, but he hooked us up.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, man. I'm glad so many of you guys showed up over there too. That was really cool and a really awesome show of support. I'm not. I mean, I don't mind being interviewed, but I don't get interviewed that much. So, I'm not really used to it. I'm used to asking the questions, not giving the answers. But, I've certainly had quite a bit of different experiences, and there's so many more than I was able to put into those 3 hours. But it's just I don't know. It's why it's my passion, I guess.
for sure, for sure. And we can really tell you have a passion for it. You do an excellent job of interviews here, and yeah, I totally understand your perspective of being used to asking the questions, but nice to hear someone have a chance to ask you questions and hear your perspective on it. That story about your dad was really cool, so thanks for sharing that.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, that was so many layers deep. It was just so amazing. All of the things that were in that chain of events that is just, I mean, even the hardened skeptic, if looking at all those events, knowing that they were true, could look at that and say, well, it's just some kind of weird chance, glitchy experience. It's like, no, man, that was like 5 or 6 layers deep of very intentional direction of things. It was just surreal.
Yeah, at a point you really can't ignore, multiple layers of it. You kind of have to say, okay, well, there's something to this. I mean, we may not fully understand it, but it sure is interesting. I have a very short story along those lines for when my brother passed on.
Oh, please.
All right, so my brother and his friend were working together the week before he passed on, and I'll skip all the the drama details about it, but they were sort of at odds when my brother passed on, and his friend was feeling really bad about that because they had not had a chance to make up from their little tiff, and so then I started working with my brother's friend, doing construction stuff with him, kind of filled in for where my brother was working with him, and about I think it was a week or maybe 2 weeks later, it might have been less than that, it might have been only a couple of days, but he told me that he woke up in the middle of the night about 3 in the morning, and he heard my brother calling his name. Ooh. So he got up out of bed, and he went out on the deck in the backyard, and he could hear him calling his name, like, Robbie, I gotta talk to you, Robbie. And he never heard anything after that, so he never got to, have a conversation with him. But it was interesting, and kind of goes along the lines with your dad's story there, although not quite as heartwarming.
Yeah, but that's still really cool, and I hope that moment was enough to heal that void that he was feeling, because it's tough to live with that. It was tough until that meeting with my dad. In the dream, it was just carrying that, and I mean, there's only so much you can do, and sometimes you just gotta shoulder those kind of things and move forward. But it was sure nice to have that chance encounter after the fact, and it was so cathartic. It was just amazing.
Yeah, for sure, and sometimes it's really hard to make peace with something like that after a person has passed. I was really glad that my brother and I were on good terms when he passed, because we definitely had our share of arguments, despite how much we love each other. So, yeah, I hear you.
Amen.
Anyway, I just wanted to share that. I want to support that. You guys did an awesome interview last night. It was great to hear your stories. Thanks for everything you're doing. Keep up the great work. I love you and the whole Paranormal Portal family. And shout out to my friends Bomber and Cha Cha in chat, because Cha Cha's always looking for a shout out, and we're talking about her.
Yep, she needs a little bit of acknowledgement, that's for sure. So, yeah, brother, thank you so much, and thanks for being such a part of the show. It's been an absolute pleasure having you around and being a part of the family. So, thank you, and I appreciate all the kind words. That means the world.
Very good, Brent. Sounds good. Have a great evening, and I'll be listening out.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap up our journey here for the night. So thank you all very much for being here. It's right around an hour of fun right here in the Paranormal Portal, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll be back tomorrow night, but I won't be alone. I should have a Longbeard here next to me, and we'll have 2 hours of paranormal fun-filled adventure sailing ahead of us. So I hope you guys will join us tomorrow night, and we'll be back 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here on our YouTube channel 7 days a week. I mean, come on, if you got to be locked in, I'll be happy to entertain you. So, all right, guys, love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. Excuse me. And remember to laugh as much as you can. Good night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.